Blue Star Capital is an investment company and has eyes and ears on the ever-changing Bitcoin blockchain space. While many investors are just learning about cryptocurrency treasury for the first time, my next guests have been advocates long before it became trendy. I'm delighted to be joined by Executive Chairman Anthony Fabrizi and Non-Executive Director Meinhard Ben, who's also founder and chairman of investee company Satoshi Pay. So, Anthony, I said you've been Bitcoin aware for some time, but what are your backgrounds and how did you meet?
Yes, hi Sarah. So my background wasn't really initially in the Bitcoin area. It's more investment banking. So I trained as a chartered accountant, and I worked in investment banking for 14 years before moving on to stockbroking, where I ran a stockbroking business for 5 years, listed it on the AIM stock market. And after a period of time, decided that I needed a change and moved into private equity. And at that point, I got involved in Blue Star. So it's been a long-term investment, time-wise. So I've been involved in Blue Star now for over 10 years. It's been an interesting ride. I think we're at a particularly good point now, but it's not been always straightforward. And yeah, I mean, Meinhard will give you his own background, but he's been an advocate of the Bitcoin process for many, many years. He's an early miner, Bitcoin developer. And as you said, he's the founder of Satoshi Pay. So I think we bring an interesting background to this market.
And do you get on with each other, Meinhard? Tell me about yourself and the relationship with Anthony.
Yeah, I learn a lot from Anthony, and I think he learns a lot from me as well. And we get on very well. We have now, I think, over 8 years of business history together. So I think that says a lot. And Blue Star has helped us tremendously as a company, Satoshi Pay, just by funding our activities already for a long time, helping us in other, let's say, corporate finance advice, and also bringing us very close to the stock markets. So it's super exciting. It's also something that was very new for me at the time. But going to London and having these meetings with stockbrokers and fund managers is very, very exciting for me.
Okay, so Tony, Blue Star Capital, what's the business proposition? What purpose does it serve? And how does shareholders benefit?
Yeah, so the current portfolio is two very small sort of non-core investments in the esports area. So we won't take much time on those, but our core proposition is around blockchain and decentralized finance. And we offer that exposure through our significant shareholding in Satoshi Pay. So we own 50% of Satoshi Pay. That's a recent increase. We undertook a transaction with Meinhard and another large shareholder in Satoshi Pay, Daniel Masters, who's the co-founder of CoinShares, which is a very large company in the crypto space. And Meinhard and Danny recently exchanged shares in Satoshi Pay for Blue Star shares. So that was very exciting. I think it should give shareholders a lot of confidence that two people who understand this market with a lot of years' experience have decided that Blue Star's an interesting play in this sector. So, we have that. And the second major development over the last few months has obviously been, as you mentioned, the interest that is being shown in this sort of treasury function amongst a number of companies. We feel that Blue Star, through Satoshi Pay, is very well placed to sort of play in that sector. And we're very happy to have raised some money recently. We didn't raise too much, but we feel it's a nice amount to start with. It gives Satoshi Pay through Vortex a very interesting play to build Vortex, and Meinhard will give you more details on this. But unlike many of the companies that are playing in this area, we actually have a real advantage in that the treasury function will help Satoshi Pay and Vortex, where it's not just an asset play for us, although that's obviously very important because our shareholders want exposure to Bitcoin, etc. But we have a double advantage. So I think we've got an advantage over the competition.
So Meinhard, when I go on the Blue Star website, Satoshi Pay is like the poster child for the business. So Satoshi Pay, what does it do? What's the main target market?
Yeah, so I founded Satoshi Pay in 2014. And as you can imagine, in such a fast moving industry as the crypto industry and the blockchain industry, also Satoshi Pay has changed over time. So now we are some sort of a almost business incubator for our own projects. So our first and biggest incubation was the Pendulum Network, which is its own independent blockchain that's focused on DeFi and stablecoins. And then this was followed by Nabla, which was also a spin-off project from Satoshi Pay, very own successful project. We own tokens in that. And now there's Vortex, which is 100% owned by Satoshi Pay as a business. And sort of this experience that we gained and the technical expertise that we have, and also the business strategies, plus sort of a product line that goes through all of these, that's really what combines it all. It always has to do with crypto-based payments or blockchain-based payments. And like in the last few years, also the DeFi element, the decentralized finance element. And it all kind of links nicely into each other. So Nabla is a decentralized application that runs on Pendulum as one of their chains. And this facilitates stablecoin-based foreign exchange for us, which we then need for Vortex that leverages this decentralized foreign exchange to lower fees and increase transaction speeds for international money transfer between businesses. So it all kind of nicely links together and follows my thesis that crypto networks are the prime place for international payments to take place.
So what's the uptake
And
been like? Do you think that people understand it, Tony? Do you see your role as being one of an educator?
I'm not sure I'd put it that way, but what I do see is that, this is a significant, well, it's an enormous market. I mean, money transfer, I mean, 2.5 trillion, I think it's sort of estimated about in 2027. So we're talking about a gigantic market, 30 billion in cross-border stablecoin payments. This didn't exist 5 years ago. So you can see this is a market that has grown enormously, is going to continue to grow. And I think the Vortex project, which really came out of the transfer project, which Satoshi Pay were trying to incubate 5 or 6 years ago, but was put on hold. This is really the key interest for Blue Star originally, why we got involved in Satoshi Pay, was really for the DeFi project. So I'm very, very excited to see this happening now. And as Maynard said, all the businesses interlink very nicely to help us do this. So yeah, I think an educator, perhaps Maynard, not myself, but yeah, we're very excited to be in this sector. We think it's a very interesting market.
So the way that I'm viewing it from first time exposure to your business is that there seems to be a symbiosis throughout all the investee companies and the incubator companies. So what's the bigger plan? How are you going to expand your portfolio, or is it purely have you got a laser-like focus on the Satoshi Pay ambitions and growing that and growing Vortex?
Yeah, I mean, Maynard jump in afterwards, but I mean, certainly from my perspective, Vortex and Satoshi Pay are, I think significant projects that if we focus on and get those right, then I believe Blue Star shareholders will be extremely happy with the outcome. So we are not going to diverge and look at new investments. We may look at something in the stablecoin market, for instance, that came up because that's complementary. But we're not looking to move into any new areas. We are very focused on this business. We see enormous potential, and we just want to make sure we do everything to help it grow.
And Meinhard, how big is that potential?
So Tony mentioned a few numbers. So those are obviously staggering. And we aim to capture the first part of this market by launching in a quite specific market, Brazil, to be specific. So there we have quite a successful growth rate already happening. And we can offer advantages to this market for other companies that are doing money transfer there. So we have very low fees, like this is below 1% fees or even less. And otherwise, this would be like 3 to 7% because simply Brazil is not as well connected to international money markets as maybe within Europe. And the settlement would happen or already happens within minutes instead of sometimes days. And also, you never lose track of your money where it's stuck. Sometimes it's stuck in an American bank when it's on its way to Europe. So that happens. With Vortex, it does not happen. So you always, at all times, know where your money is and what's the next step that's going to happen to the transfer. It kind of becomes very, very transparent. That's really the power of decentralized technology, that we can make this so transparent. So we have like an on-ramp for BRL bank accounts and an off-ramp to USDC. We had that live already, and that's happening. People are using that, small and medium-sized businesses in Brazil. And also as a sort of a sneak preview, the bank to crypto aspect that you can get directly crypto, not just stable coins and reverse. That's also in testing right now, so that's coming soon. And also the European on and off ramp has been optimized, and it was an off ramp at first, and now it's also an on ramp, and that's coming. It's in testing, so we can grow further within Europe as well.
And in terms of that growth, Tony, where's the money coming from? You had a modest raise recently. So where's the money coming from, and how would you describe the cash burn as you grow?
So Blue Star itself, I think I'm quite proud to say that we're one of the lowest cost companies on AIM. The directors over a year ago decided not to take any salaries in order to preserve cash when we had a slightly difficult period. We've cut our costs significantly. Say, I think our annual cost must be amongst the lowest, 1 or 2% on AIM. So we're trying to do everything we can to preserve our cash position. We have been fortunate enough to get shareholder support in the last 6 months, and we have raised sort of £500,000 for the company. Much of that money has been targeted for supporting Satoshi Pay. So Satoshi Pay has been raising capital, and we've been supportive of that. We've obviously did the share swap. Our annual running costs outside of transaction costs are probably 100,000. So we are very careful about how we're spending our money. Satoshi Pay itself has had a significant reduction in its own costs. Again, the guys there are highly motivated through equity to develop that business. And I think it does differentiate us. I mean, I think Meinhard's the biggest shareholder now in Blue Star, and second biggest shareholder in Satoshi Pay. Blue Star's the biggest shareholder in Satoshi Pay. So we're very connected, very aligned in what we're trying to achieve here. And, we want shareholders to benefit from that as well. But we have enough cash, I suppose it's a simple answer, to last us for next year, unless we want to do something more significant. At the moment, we're not saying we are, but if there was support and shareholders wanted to do something else, then perhaps we would. But at the moment, we have enough cash.
Okay, so that's significant skin in the game, the pair of you, and that's motivation in itself. But here we are, we're approaching August. Tony, what are the goals for the remainder of the calendar year?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think so, as I just mentioned, most of this is based upon Satoshi Pay and Vortex. So Vortex, as Meinhard's mentioned, is really focused at the moment on Brazil. It's the first real market they've tried to target, and the initial traction has been very encouraging. So we want to see that continue. We'll come on to, in a moment, perhaps Meinhard will be able to talk about this, how the treasury functions can hopefully help the growth of Vortex quite significantly. But in terms of our targets, we'd like to see significant growth in Vortex and Brazil. We'd like to see them perform very well on the treasury side. If they can produce excellent results on the treasury function within Satoshi Pay, then that would be helpful for Blue Star. And then on the back of all of that, assuming that all happens, then we would like Satoshi Pay, which be supportive of them raising an A round at the beginning of 26. So that's our sort of goals over the next 6 months. It's really all around Satoshi Pay and Vortex. But as I've said before, those are our key priorities.
So I'm going to give you the stage, Meinhard, because the treasury play has just sort of exploded universally onto the investor stream of consciousness over the past month. But talk to me about treasury play and how it's used within your businesses and how it's being adopted now by many sort of listed companies.
So the obvious question to most people is like, why shouldn't I just buy the crypto myself and hold it myself? So there's several reasons why you should entrust a listed company with this, or like by extension, like company that's long in the space for a long time. So first of all, just the technicalities of that, and also the holding of crypto. That's one big aspect that we are very experienced in managing and also sending crypto around, so we don't make mistakes that way. That's one thing. But also the yield opportunities that we know and that we exploit actively based on, or like even on top of the actual currency gains. Let's say the Bitcoin price goes up, the holding that Blue Star has goes also up. But we, on top of that, we can get yields. I'm quite careful with stating some numbers, but that are way above what you can get in the bank for like a holding. Or even like if you put it into a crypto exchange, we can go beyond that by using DeFi protocols, by let's say let the crypto work for itself. And we do that already since years. internally in the team and also with our own crypto treasury. So as SatoshiPay, we've been maintaining a crypto treasury since 2015, 16, essentially, when we got some part of an investment in crypto. So we know that very well. So on top of the let's say quite attractive gains, we also use these treasury funds to make our own business run. So I mentioned foreign exchange earlier on. So there you need pairs of two currencies that need to be exchanged. You need to hold this as a liquidity. So, and the crypto liquidity that we have, we can use exactly for that. Otherwise, we would have to borrow this money for quite expensive somewhere, for quite expensive costs. But here we have our own funds that we can use to provide liquidity for the foreign exchange. The technicalities of that are also super exciting, and you can also participate as, let's say, an individual in these pools. But we chose to kind of mix that in. It can really be a mixed pool, as like the term suggests, of many currencies and many let's say funds from different sources. And that's what we're planning to do also with the treasury function that we're doing in collaboration with Blue Star.
We're coming to the end of our conversation now, gentlemen, and I'm going to put you on the spot, this final question. So, Meinhard, what is the end game for Satoshi Pay? And then, Tony, I'll ask you what the ambitions are for Blue Star. So, Meinhard, what do you want from Satoshi Pay?
So the term endgame has a slightly negative connotation, so it's not going to end somewhere, but the open-ended development that we see is obviously becoming a very successful money transmitter and yeah, running all over the world, running exchanges all over the world, comparable to a Wise, but in a decentralized fashion, like sort of the new way to build a Wise company. So that's definitely what I see for Satoshi Pay. Plus the treasury also growing with demand within the company, but also with the opportunity that the markets give. So becoming quite a sizable company and generating attractive profits and also returns on investment.
Same question to you, Tony, about Blue Star.
I mean, Blue Star is a public company already, so that's not an ambition. We're already there. But I think Blue Star ultimately needs to reverse some sort of business into itself. We're not, as I've mentioned, we're not looking to build Blue Star as an investing business long term. I mean, it's served a great purpose so far, but ultimately, a company like Satoshi Pay, for instance, would be an excellent business to become Blue Star in the future. Now, that may not happen. There may be another business, but ultimately, I think Blue Star will become a vehicle for a substantial business, and I very much hope that's Satoshi Pay.
Excellent. Anthony Fabrizi, Chairman of Blue Star Capital, and Meinhard Ben, Founder and Chairman of Satoshi Pay. Thank you very much indeed. Much appreciated.
Thank you so much.